now to the breaking news that I spoke about. It's from the state of California, and it concerns the former presidential candidate and former vice president of the United States. Kamala Harris is not running for governor of California. We learned that from the reporting of The Hill's Alex Gangitano, who joins us today, along with the senior political correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, Molly Ball, who's with us, and our NewsNation White House correspondent, Kelly Meyer, who's live on the North Lawn. So I wanted to start with this, then get to some of these other stories that I just mentioned, because we're just learning this information, or better said, Alex, you're just learning this information. What do you know?
That's right. A statement from Harris just came out at 3 p.m. basically saying that she's taken the last 6 months since she lost that race to President Trump in November to reflect on where she wants to be in her political future, how she wants to contribute to politics. And she said, I've decided I will not run for governor in this election, and that she has decided that public service can be done outside of elected office. So this is something people were waiting for months, to see if she'd step into this race to replace Governor Gavin Newsom, who's term limited. And here you go. She's decided to sit this one out for now. Molly
Ball, thoughts, reaction?
Well, it's very interesting. You know, we had been hearing for months that this was something she was strongly considering, but she also has not been really out there. She's made very few public appearances since losing the election in November. And I think it's fair to say the vibes were kind of bad around a potential gubernatorial run for her. You know, I've been out in California doing some reporting over the last few months, and there was a really notable lack of enthusiasm, even among a lot of Democrats. And at the state Democratic convention, which I believe was also about a month ago, you had a lot of rank and file delegates saying the same thing, saying that they were not super enthused about her candidacy. So while she would have been the biggest name in the race and obviously would have been a major factor, she leaves this field really in disarray with a lot of Democrats who I think are now going to get in.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race to watch in California. Of course, Kelly Meyer, it'd also be an interesting race to watch for president next time with the sitting governor of California. You know, to Alex's point, likely getting in, but now you wonder what the future does hold for Kamala Harris, if it's not this.
That's exactly where your mind goes at first when you hear this news from our Alex Gangitano there with The Hill, breaking this news this hour that she's not going to be running for governor. It really opens up the question of whether or not she is keeping open the lane of the presidential run for 2028, if that's something that she's weighing, or leaving the room to at least decide where her political future might go next. She has been, as talked about in some of the polling in recent months, the name that people keep going back to, but whether or not she decides to do this again. Of course, we were covering her on the trail just months ago, looking back into 2024 on election night at her headquarters. So she had to go through all that in campaigning on the road, being tapped by former President Biden to be the presidential nominee and candidate there. So we'll have to see exactly where the road leads her next. But this is definitely an interesting development and leaves you wondering if she is keeping that option open to run for president in 2028.
What about that, Alex? And you're reporting on this. Is this story goodbye Kamala Harris as a political figure, or moving on, just not right now a politician running for governor of California?
Yeah, I think not right now. This is definitely not the last we'll see of Vice President Harris. And I do think there's a lot of people in her inner circle in the Harris camp that think she simply did not get enough time to run for president. She was handed, you know, this pretty tough set of cards from President Biden when he decided to drop out a year ago almost to the state. And she had to do what she could with that amount of time to try to beat President Trump in November. And so I think, if anything, this is a sign that we'll see her running for president, whether that's, you know, in 4 years, in 8 years, whatever else. But I'm not saying anytime soon, but I think this is her wanting to kind of take a reset. But once you make it to the big stage of being the Democratic nominee for president, I think it's probably tough to try to figure out what other spots you'd be interested in filling.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.